Welcome to Season 2 of Test Those Breasts podcast. I am your host, Jamie Vaughn. I am really excited to continue this journey and mission into 2024 to help shorten the overwhelming learning curve for those who are newly diagnosed or yet to be diagnosed with breast cancer. It has been such an honor and a privilege to be able to connect and interview many survivors, thrivers, caregivers, oncologists, surgeons, nurses, therapists, advocates, and more in order to provide much needed holistic guidance for our breast cancer community. Breast cancer has become such an epidemic, so the more empowered we are, the better. By listening, rating, reviewing, and sharing this podcast, it truly does help bring in more listeners from all over the world. I appreciate your help in spreading this knowledge. My episodes are released weekly on Apple, Spotify, and other platforms, and soon to be on YouTube. Now let's listen to this next episode of Test Those Breasts. Hello, friends. Welcome back to this episode of Test Those Breasts. I am your host, Jamie Vaughn. And today I am so happy to have two amazing women on my show, Yang and Courtney Delgado. So in their 10 plus years working with the breast cancer community, founders Yang and Courtney Delgado noticed firsthand the many side effects their patients dealt with after surviving breast cancer. They realized that thriving after breast cancer isn't easy. They saw a void in the end of breast cancer survivors' journey and decided to use their passion and expertise to fill it. They say that our focus is the woman behind the tumor. Perky was created to bring positivity to this difficult journey in hopes of helping women thrive in their next chapter of life. Well, welcome, Crystal and Courtney. I am so glad that we are connecting today to talk about some really important things that you do. And I'm just excited because I'm really, really picky about who I choose to be on my podcast because all I want to do is add as much value as I possibly can to help shorten the learning curve for other breast cancer survivors and patients and those people who haven't even been diagnosed yet, and even caregivers, because there were so many things I did not know before I got breast cancer, and it was so overwhelming. And so I was referred to you two by a friend of mine, and I started to get on your Instagram and look around, and I just really, really was drawn in and so intrigued with what you do for a living. So welcome to the show. Crystal, how are you doing?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I'm so excited. How about you, Courtney?
Doing great. Excited to chat.
Great. So I want to start out by asking both of you, and we'll start with you, Crystal, first. What led you to this interest in helping other people with their breast cancer journey?
Yeah, so every female on my mother's side has had breast cancer. So my grandmother, my mother, my aunt, even a non-blood aunt, they've all suffered with breast cancer. So I was thankfully able to help a lot of them through their journeys. I've done all their nipple tattoos. But they were definitely my inspiration in becoming a nurse, first of all, and secondly, starting my own business catered to the breast cancer community.
Well, I'm just so happy that, not that you have this big line of breast cancer in your family, but just having that fire in your belly to help other people and feel better about themselves. So thank you for that. How about you, Courtney? How did you get involved?
Well, I started out, Crystal and I went to nursing school together, and I went into the hospital after graduating, and it's kind of a revolving door of patients. It's still being an advocate and caring, but you get a limited interaction with each person. So when I left the hospital and Crystal brought me into the place where she was working at the time, helping women through breast reconstruction, I had no idea, like you, before your diagnosis, the world of breast cancer and breast reconstruction in particular. So it was a really cool, positive experience to help women through their breast reconstruction journey. And it was unique. You get to build a relationship with each person over a long span of time. So you really become a very important advocate for that community. And it was I fell in love with it as soon as I started it.
Okay. Yeah. Crystal?
And one thing we noticed working in breast reconstruction is nipple tattooing tended to be an afterthought. Mm-hmm. Many doctors' offices offer it, but it's real like, we'll do it here. So-and-so will do it. You'll get it done. And that's that. And then you'll be done with us. versus really making the woman a part of the process where they get to be part of the color selection and detail work. It was just such an afterthought. And if they didn't have it at the doctor's office, they were having it at a tattoo parlor where perhaps that's not their vibe. Perhaps they don't want to go to a traditional tattooist to have this done. So, having the idea to create a space, a safe space where survivors can come, knowing that this area is, safe for them, catered specifically to them, created for them, we thought that would be really special and needed.
Yeah, so I appreciate you saying that, because I personally, if I'm going to get something done like this, I want to go to someone who specializes in this type of work. And you bring up a really valid point about including the survivor in on the decision about colors and what, just because when you're in a doctor's office, sometimes they're not really great with holistic care. And so they're not really necessarily paying attention to your emotional and mental health. Whereas you guys have created this wonderful environment where you all work together in how it's going to come out. And I just think that that is phenomenal. So thank you for saying that. Crystal, what are some of the things you noticed about breast cancer patients and survivors that kind of left a void in their lives?
So I guess, like I mentioned, the nipple tattooing, but also, part of our whole mission is we acknowledge that cancer in general can just take so much from you. It's take, taking your breast, getting an amputation, really. Maybe you weren't necessarily super involved in the whole reconstructive phase, or maybe you were limited to your options. So it was a lot of having to give and then taking. Nipple tattoo is something you can give back to yourself, something that can be very restorative in nature. And we're so privileged to be able to be a part of that final step, because a lot of times it's the last step. We call it the cherry on top to help provide closure.
Yeah. Courtney?
And just to add on to that, I think a lot of women feel as they're going through treatment, there's so many doctor's appointments and so much face-to-face with their care providers. But then once they're cured, they're just kind of dropped off and the appointments are gone. And maybe they're a little insecure about that. So we want to be a space where people can come. Our background in breast reconstruction helps us understand, have the medical knowledge to what they're going through and what they've been through. So we can kind of be a soundboard for them and just a safe space, like she said, for them to come and feel still that they're getting cared for.
Yeah, I really love that. That just makes me feel so happy that not only you have a service that can provide the cherry on top, if you will, but also you have an understanding of where the emotional and mental health is at that point, because you are absolutely right. We are so inundated with appointment after appointment. And I remember very shortly after I was diagnosed and I was going to get my PET scan and I was just about to get my port installed that same day. And my husband took me to my appointment. I looked up to the building and it said, City of Hope or something like that. And I had a literal full-on meltdown in the parking lot because it hit me. It just hit me like a ton of bricks. Oh my God, this is what my life is right now. This is what my life is going to consist of for however many months until I get through this breast cancer. And it freaked me out. So it was appointment after appointment. And not all of my providers really had that ability for holistic care. They just said, this is what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. And so to have that sort of real treat afterwards, to treat yourself, to really, help you with your body image. And again, going back to, this is not a boob job. This is an amputation of your breasts. And that is just tremendously horrific to even think about and to even wrap your mind around. So I'm excited at some point to get my own nipple tattoos. So there's that.
I know a girl who can do it.
I do too. Yeah, it's really cool. Courtney, what are some ways, and we've kind of talked a little bit about this already, but what are some other ways that you've been able to help breast cancer survivors move forward in their lives?
Yes, I think one thing to note is how impactful the nipple tattooing is in moving forward. When they're finished with surgery but haven't done the nipple tattooing, it can feel incomplete to some women. I think most women are very surprised at just how impactful it is when they take that first look in the mirror, and it is closure on the journey. It can really help complete that chapter of their lives so they can move forward. We also like to be advocates. So we help with insurance reimbursement, and we can kind of fight for getting as much reimbursement as possible. So we really try to advocate, and we like to provide community resources. So we're doing whatever community events we can. We also donate nipples when we can. We provide education on our social media, on our Instagram. We like to promote self-breast exams and just general information about women's health, breast cancer, breast reconstruction, nipple tattooing, anything that has to do with this world, because it is a lot of knowledge. There's a lot out there that women just don't know.
Right. And I like the fact that you both have such great knowledge about breast cancer just because of the experiences that you've had either with your family. And so if you ever were to get breast cancer, you have a lot of knowledge that I wish I would have had. So will it be easy? No, it's not an easy journey, but gosh, you guys have such a wonderful myriad of information that really can help you through, and you have a really good support system as well. So you had mentioned something about insurance. Is that a difficult thing to get insurance companies to cover?
So nipple tattooing is the final stage of breast reconstruction. In theory, it is linked to if you've had mastectomy, all of your reconstructive surgeries should be covered by insurance. Now, insurance, they like to find little loopholes, or they like to take their sweet time with payout, but we always help all of our nipple tattoo ladies or men with reimbursement. So we'll give them, all the coding, a letter of medical necessity. So we'll chat with them, we'll get a little of their history, and we'll type up a letter for them. And then we'll fill out a reimbursement form just to help them with the reimbursement process. And everyone's scenario is a little different, but yes, insurance should be covering it. Sadly, in this day and age, we're still struggling with fighting with insurance.
Yeah, I was going to add on to that this is just a specialized service that sometimes they don't understand. Yeah. It can be strange for them to be talking about nipple tattooing. So if you're getting the wrong personnel that you're speaking with, sometimes they'll tell you it's cosmetic, which is a big kicker because it's in no way, shape, or form cosmetic. So that's what I mentioned advocating. If we need to call and explain on someone's behalf because they're not as familiar with that service code, we do that.
I love the fact that you know about that service code, because having someone like you advocate for the patient is just so impactful. And I know that people have a hard time even getting their reconstruction along with their mastectomy because they do see it as cosmetic, and it's just not, And so paying attention to women's health laws and codes, insurance codes and things like that. So I'm so glad that you guys are super knowledgeable about that. So Crystal, or actually Courtney, what are people most concerned about when getting nipple tattoos?
A lot of the time, this is the woman's first tattoo. So they, number one, just don't know what to expect at all. They're fearful of pain in particular. So we always chat through the process that we do. A lot of times your sensation is less after having surgery, but we also have topical numbers we can use if you are feeling little areas of pain. And most of the time what we see is when we do get into an area that has a little sensation, it's more exciting than painful. It's like, oh, great, I can feel that, because things are so desensitized after surgery. But I think that's people's number one concern is it going to be painful? And then just, if you do Google this, there's so many different ways that people do the tattooing. There's different ink lines that people use, and some are softer and more natural looking than others. So a lot of people are fearful that they're going to end up with a harsh, they call it kind of a pepperoni look to the nipple with no detail, just something that looks unnatural on their complexion and on their new breast. So we got through that.
My husband said, you should get little daisies or something like that. I'm like, no, I want nipples. No, thank you. That totally makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Crystal?
Another thing is, kind of tag on to that, some people have had nipple tattooing at their doctor's offices 5-6 times and nothing has stayed.
True.
But maybe scarring. So that can internally scar them. And then they're fearful to trust another provider to offer this service because they've already been scarred. So kind of just explaining to them the techniques are different. We always assess everyone's skin and their scar. And, the skin integrity can play a huge factor in pigment absorption, but To have to go through this process 6 times to have nothing to show for it is really sad. So once we're able to tattoo them and give them a new result, that's a game changer for them.
Well, and we want them to understand it's not their fault. It's something they did.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes they internalize it and think that it's something that they didn't do right with the aftercare or with their particular skin. And it was probably just user error and correct pigment choice.
Okay, good point. So can you walk us through a little bit about what the process looks like?
Yeah. So when you come to Perky, you got 2 Perky nurses. We'll always consult you first, whether it be virtual or in person or over the phone. We always want to know a little bit about your history because we want to make sure we're proceeding safely and at the right time and that your skin is ready. For example, if you finished radiation yesterday, you're probably not ready to have your nipple tattoos just yet. And that's something that maybe a traditional tattooist wouldn't acknowledge or appreciate. So we always want to make sure, is your skin ready? Are you on any meds that could hinder things? So there's a full assessment that we do. But then you come in, one of us will do your tattoo session. You'll be part of the whole process. You'll help us pick size, shape, detail work that you want, don't want. Do you want an inverted nipple? Do you want just like a really clean nipple? We will ask you questions about nipples that you never thought that you would be asked before. And you're going to be like, what? But we'll show you examples to kind of help guide you. But even when it comes to color selection, we're there to give our opinions and, inform you on how we think this color would heal. But essentially, it's your body, your choice. You'll be part of that process too. So we'll do the first full session. You'll leave with beautiful tattoos, and then you'd come back for a touch-up a few weeks later. And then those results should last you for years to come.
So I love that there's that process. I am curious, do you have a lot of people come, and this is a total question that I hadn't even thought about yet, but do you have people come from all over the country to get their tattoos from you?
Thankfully, yeah, we've had a lot of women travel, even internationally from different continents. So we're super humbled. That's the world of social media. Mm-hmm. Instagram has been helpful, Google helpful in getting our name out there. And
Wonderful.
Letting women know of options that are out there for them.
So you say that people have to come back a few weeks later. Does that mean that if people travel there, they're going to either need to stay there or come back?
Usually, so the touch-up is about 6 weeks later, but if we needed to do a 6-month touch-up, no harm, no foul, whenever they're ready. And with that said, you'll have a beautiful result just after one session, but we always want to provide longevity to your tattoo, and we're perfectionists. So if there's any little crispening that we can do, we want to do it, and it's included in the fee. So whenever they're ready to come back, we offer that.
Okay, that's fantastic. One question that I have is, I had lymph nodes removed. Mm-hmm. Are people able to get nipple tattoos? Because I know I was told that I couldn't really do any tattoos in the whole quadrant of my body. How does that work when people have lymph nodes removed?
It's perfectly safe to receive the tattooing to the breast area after you've had a lymph node dissection. Sometimes people have the swelling to the arm. Sometimes the swelling invades the chest area. So if you do have lymphedema to the breast, you would want to be having that evaluated, doing manual lymphatic drainage or whatever your lymphedema therapist or physical therapist is recommending, because that will help with the ink uptake. But it's perfectly safe. The inks we use it's a line that was created specifically for areola tattooing. It's safe. You can go into an MRI after it. So it doesn't affect anything if you've had surgery there or a lymph node dissection. But just like I said, if you want to try to manage your lymphedema regardless, because that's just better overall so it doesn't get worse. But if it invades the chest area, you would want to be helping relieve that fluid and that swelling before you have the tattoo.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Yeah, because I was thinking about that. I thought, God, if I can't have a tattoo on anywhere in this whole quadrant, how would I be able to do that on my breast?
Do you have like a therapist, or are you seeing anyone for? Okay. So maybe getting clearance if someone's a little concerned. We can always get a game plan going with the whole team, right?
Yeah.
For aftercare and things. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't have lymphedema. I'm pretty good at where I have a sleeve. I've had 3 removed from the breast cancer side and 1 from the other side. And so I have seen a therapist and I am in contact with her in any questions that I have. But, I will ask her about that as well. But that's just such a good thing for people to know, because so many people get lymph nodes removed.
Absolutely.
And I didn't even know what lymphedema was. I didn't even know what I could and couldn't do or anything. So, I just bought a hot tub a year ago, a little over a year ago. She told me I can't sit in it over past my belly button. I'm like,
yep.
that sucks because
Yeah.
I'm like it's so good for therapy and everything, anyway. So, okay, go ahead. Did you have something?
Yeah, I was going to add on to that. A lot of times women who have lymphedema also have had radiation. So in those scenarios, it's also safe to do the tattooing. We would just assess the skin first. And usually you heal longer after the radiation. You wait a little bit longer to get the tattooing. And it can make things take differently if you've had radiation. That's the only caveat there.
Okay, good to know. Very good to know. Now, I want to get into something a little controversial, and I know that you both have something to say about this. So there's been a lot of controversy on social media about showing images of real breasts that connect to breast cancer and results that you offer that ends up negatively impacting businesses like yours. Mm-hmm. Yours is not the first I've seen on this. I've seen it on other Instagram businesses where like, this is not pornography, right? Mm-hmm. So the accusation is that it's considered to be pornography, the accusation from Instagram or whatever. Can you share with our audience how you handle this type of censorship and how it actually does affect your business? Crystal, if you want to start.
Yeah. So the first thing that comes to mind is, and not to be like a feminist or anything, but it's like, man, if this was a male nipple, would we be in this predicament? Anything related to women's health seems to be controversial. That's sad. So what do we do about it? We continue to advocate. We further make Instagram posts. We are constantly appealing them, but women deserve to be able to see their options, what results look like, because someone can say they offer tattooing all day long, nipple tattooing, but if you're not able to see their healed results, then that's not fair. I just feel it's so sad that society is so sexualized. And now we're trying to make everything robotic when it comes to like censorship. So Instagram's using AI sources to kind of scan posts. And even when they see the graphic of our flat boob, that's getting censored. So it's like, come on, guys. Like,
yes, this mural here behind us, sometimes we include it in our social posts and that flags.
That little dot there.
Yeah, just the little painted dot. So our stickers have flagged. We have little like boob stickers. It doesn't matter what form of tattooing we put up, it usually flags. I mean, from day one, it's been flagging, and we agreed mutually that we don't want to let that affect what we want to put out. We still are going to create the posts and hope that we can continue to appeal. And a lot of times after an appeal process, they will put it back. But most recently with this new AI flagging, it's been a lot harder. And we tried to get a little shop for any like small merchandise we sell, and they are denying us even having a shop on Instagram because of our posts.
The problem is on Instagram, their guidelines flat out say that breast cancer awareness post-mastectomy posts are allowed. Really? So they're not practicing what they're preaching. And that's what's really infuriating. And these women, they acknowledge they want to be posted. They want to be able to help someone who's newly diagnosed. That's a way to give them purpose, right? You want to give your diagnosis purpose, and they want to be able to show someone that it's okay. This is what's on the other side. You'll get there. And they're not allowing that.
Well, and you do bring up a really good point. If this was a man, this would not be happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no harm, no foul.
Where is it that it started that men could go around topless and women can't?
I'm still trying to figure that out. Once I find out.
I have to tell you guys a super funny story, and I think I might have told Courtney. I did yesterday when I was talking to you, or a couple days ago. We were in Costa Rica, and this is going to be really fun because I'm going to go back to Costa Rica after I get my nipple tattoos. We were in Costa Rica, my husband and I were, and we were on this catamaran, a beautiful trip. It was super fun. We came back to the condo, and our condo was really cute. We had a little garden view, and it had a balcony. For me, I would say that my surgeon for the phase 1 breast surgery, the breast reconstruction, I told him that if I could never have phase 2, for whatever reason, I would be so okay with the job that he did. I mean, he did such a phenomenal job, and I never thought that I would like my body again. And I just love my breasts that he did. I cannot tell you how much I love them. And so I'm a pretty uninhibited person anyway. I have been, I'm 56 years old. I've always been pretty uninhibited. I mean, I've even gone to nude beaches before, but Tahoe. I'm a little bit different now that I'm in my 50s, but I came to a situation where I do love my body now. And my husband loves my body. So when we got home from the catamaran trip, we went out on the balcony and I looked all around just to make sure no one was there. Like it was super private. And I put my towel up on the balcony. I took my bathing suit off and walked back in. And my husband came out, took his trunks off because he wanted to dry them out on the balcony, right? So we come back in, and about 45 minutes later, we're sitting at the dinner table, and this knock on the door, ring on the doorbell, all of a sudden happens. And we're like, oh, who's that? So my husband went to the door, and I kind of heard him talking a little bit in Spanish. I heard him kind of go out into the hallway and talk, and a little muffled talking. Then he comes back in, he goes, so, babe, apparently we can't be naked on the balcony. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he says, well, somehow, he said, he showed me this. He says, do you speak Spanish? And he said, and it was a security guard. And he said, yeah, I speak a little bit. And he showed him this little text message that said, and one of the lines said, cannot be naked on the balcony.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, how on earth? I looked everywhere. No one was there. I swear to God. I mean, I looked everywhere. Turns out there's a camera. There's a security camera off to the left that literally saw us for 2 seconds naked on the balcony. And I thought to myself,
Oh my gosh.
well, at least I love my body, and then the next time I go there, I'll have nipples. So anyway, it was just so funny. And I just bring that up because what you two do is so profoundly, incredibly important. And people don't understand this. They don't realize this until it's happening to them. And I appreciate the fact that you two have so much knowledge as nurses, as someone who has breast cancer in their family, as women, and you are advocates for all of us. And I just really appreciate that. And I think that everyone needs to know about this. Where are you located?
We are in San Antonio, Texas. We're in the medical center here in San Antonio, and we're part of like a little medical office. Yeah.
Okay. So I like the fact that I'm finding these pockets of people, these professionals, where people understand that there's an option for them to go to. So people can fly to you, and you probably have like PRMA referring people to you, and other places possibly referring places or people to you.
Yeah, we have Dr. Potter. She's awesome. She's in Austin.
I love her. Yes.
She's a huge advocate. We're like fangirls of her. I want to be her when I grow up. Yeah.
I will tell you that I'm a fangirl of hers as well.
Yeah. She's really cool. And there's a lot of great reconstructive surgeons here in town too that refer, but we just really try to get our name out there as much as possible. A lot of times through breast cancer organizations, we get referrals. I don't know if you're familiar with the Breasties. But they're a national organization. They are phenomenal with the support that they give the community. Mm-hmm. Now we started helping them with their Camp Breasty. So you should look that up. That's a fun thing to look up for the community. But little organizations, local ones around town, we like to help with. Google's great. Social media is great for referrals. Yeah.
And we've done a few pop-ups with a couple of organizations like the Breasties and Shay's Warriors, Life After Cancer. They're located in like the Palm Desert, California area. So both really wonderful organizations, and we're very open to doing that, working with organizations to try to get nipple tattooing to areas where they don't necessarily have it. With whatever we can within our means, we try to do that.
Yeah, there's so many.
So if I had an organization in my area, we might be able to collaborate and
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, we love doing that. Yeah. There's so many women that walk around for years without nipples that we're just complete, and they forget about it. And then when they realize it's an option again, it's like, well.
Oh, and also on that note, we see a lot of women who have had, I don't want to say bad tattooing, but less than desirable outcomes with the tattooing that they've previously had. So we even can refresh something that didn't look as nice. So if there are people, it's not necessarily over for you if you didn't get the result you wanted. if you want to try to correct something that didn't necessarily turn out as nice as you'd like.
We call it a Perky refresh.
Yes.
Oh, I like that. The Perky refresh. I love it. So you talked a lot about community stuff, which was actually going to be my next question. How do you guys give back? And it seems like you give back in, a myriad of different ways. And that even makes you even better, which I just feel like I'm so excited to know that you two are there. What piece of advice can you give our audience about how to choose a nipple tattoo artist? And I know one of them is don't just go to any old tattoo artist, right? What other questions can they ask? Like, it's kind of like when you go to a surgeon, what questions should you ask someone who you want to do their deep flap surgery? You don't want to go to just any plastic surgeon that can maybe do a deep flap. You want to ask them very pointed questions like, how many surgeries have you done with deep flap? What are the success rates for your deep flap? So what can you help us with as far as advice, Crystal, that people should know about?
I think so. When you think about nipple tattooing, how are you getting information on nipple tattooing? It's probably from your plastic surgery office, right? Whether they do it there in-house or they refer out. So if they're doing it in-house, I would definitely ask who's doing it, because we've been there, done that. We started off as nurses who had the whole nursing role, from pre-op, post-op, phone calls, clinic to nipple tattooing. So nipple tattooing was something that was thrown in there, right? It's not always the best techniques that are done in doctors' offices. It's not the best machinery, ink lines. So be very mindful. Ask to see healed results. I think that's really important. And then if they do refer out, who do they refer out to? And, ask to see healed results there. Maybe see their space. Make sure it's a space that you're comfortable getting your tattoo in. Is it a back alley tattoo parlor? Or is it a place like Perky that's created specifically for you? My mom, actually, she's a survivor. She had her first set of tattoos at the doctor's office. She thought it was a really cool service that was offered, but she said, it was very painful there and the results were lackluster. So secondly, she went to a traditional tattooist years later because her tattoos had faded. But going to a tattoo artist parlor, it was kind of vulgar for her, truthfully, and it wasn't the best experience, the ambiance. So, many tattoo areas, you're just kind of in an open area with beds with lots of dudes who do tattoos, right? Maybe that would fly for some survivors or previvors, but not for the vast majority. I think they deserve better than that. So seeing those two scenarios, I knew that something was lacking. And that's truly where the idea of Perky came from. But definitely do your research, see healed results, know your worth, and take your time. Some women have taken years to finally come to the decision, and we're like, maybe that was God speaking to you that, you weren't going to get the right result that you needed at that time, and you just needed to wait.
Great advice. How about you, Courtney?
Yeah, to add on to that, I think, like Crystal said, it's important to check how long they've been doing it. And even we've seen some tattoo artists that put work up that wasn't theirs. So it can be tricky to navigate that, but definitely seeing as much before and after work as possible, and then making sure that you're included in the process. If they're not letting you select placement, size, color, if they're not showing you those things and getting your input, it's probably not a good situation. We've seen a couple of ladies who come to us for a refresh and we ask, did they include you in any of this? And they're like, oh, no, because we do a lot of measuring and a lot of, we place it and we move it. The process of mapping it is very important. So if it's like quick and they're not including you, that's not a good way to start the tattoo.
Oh, right? Yeah. So when it comes to symmetry and figuring out where to put those areolas, we are very thoughtful. We take into account your scar patterns, right? Are you really wanting us to try to camouflage some of the scarring, or does it not bother you at all? Getting a proportionate size to your breast volume is also very important. Putting them in a place where they would naturally sit, not too high, not too low. So there's a lot of thought that goes into it. And we've had some ladies come in, they're like, yeah, they plopped me on the chair. They didn't draw anything out and they just went to town. They just started tattooing. And I'm like, like this anxiety.
And Crystal brings up an excellent point. You do have scarring there. There's scar tissue. It's a surgical site. So it's important to go to someone that knows how to work with scars, or they could further harm you. Yeah. So that's an important, making sure they have that experience, particularly with scars. Because a lot of parlors will be like, yeah, we'll do the tattoo, but they don't understand what goes into breast surgery and breast reconstruction.
Well, and to be honest with you, I would prefer having a woman do my nipples because they know so much more about, what they should look like and things like that. So really, really great advice. I want to let my audience know where they can reach you. In the show notes, I will have your social media handles and your website and your Facebook page. And then also you have some resources that you've provided. Like you were talking about Shay's Warrior, and I ended up following them as well. Pink Warrior Advocates and Overcomers. Those are the ones I have on there. Is there anything else you might want to add, or is that those the ones you really like? But if you want to add anything, we can do that too. But I just want to make sure people can reach you and get some advice from you.
Yeah, those are probably the best ways to reach us, or our phone number. But we're really good at responding to emails or DMs on social. Like I mentioned, the Breasties are also a great organization. And then we have a few reconstructive surgeons that we really care for if you want us to include those. But I think what else? I don't think there's anyone else.
I do have the Breasties on there as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
We love answering any and all questions that we can. Sometimes it's hard to get your thoughts together for your doctor's appointment, or maybe there was such a short appointment time. It's helpful to have someone to kind of chat through things if you're trying to make a decision. So we're always here as a sounding board as well.
Yeah. Wonderful. Wonderful. I'm excited at the fact that you guys are fangirls of Dr. Elizabeth Potter as well. I am supposed to be interviewing her. She had to put it off because she was in OR a couple of days ago. So we are going to be interviewing, and I'm so excited to chat with her. I've talked with her before on the advocacy group because I was part of the CMS coding crisis advocacy group. And that's how I actually originally met her. And it was after I had my DIEP flap that I realized that I almost missed the boat on getting that because I would never have been able to afford it. And so I'm just so incredibly grateful for her efforts. And so I'm also looking forward to my interview with her. Okay, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Is there anything, Crystal, anything else that you would like to say before we wrap up?
Perky's here for you. Courtney and I are here for you whenever you're ready for nipple tattoos. Even if you don't pursue us, definitely chat with us. We can give you some great education and hopefully lead you down the right path to get beautiful, healed nipple tattoos.
And you say a really neat thing here is I appreciate the fact that you guys are also part of that shared decision making in what's best for the woman. So you're there for people, even if they don't come to you. But we know that your services are amazing, and that just makes you even better. How about you, Courtney?
Yeah, I think Crystal said it perfectly. We offer a number of other services catered to breast cancer survivors. So if anyone's interested, take a look at our website for that, or our Instagram. But also the education that we provide, even if you're just looking at us from like a women's health perspective, share with your friends and family so that everybody's in the know about self-breast exams and all those things.
Love it. Love it. Well, thank you very much, ladies. I appreciate your time, your energy, your expertise and advice. And just thank you for being here. And to my audience, thank you for being here. And we will see you on the next episode of Test Those Breasts. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Friends, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Test Those Breasts. I hope you got some great, much needed information that will help you with your journey. As always, I am open to guests to add value to my show, and I'm also open to being a guest on other podcasts where I can add value. So please reach out if you'd like to collaborate. My contact information is in the show notes. And as a reminder, rating, reviewing, and sharing this podcast will truly help build a bigger audience all over the world. I thank you for your efforts. I look forward to sharing my next episode of Test Those Breasts.